Hi there! It's Jenny from Quick Anime Recap. And today we're continuing the part 2 of the anime, Nanana's Buried Treasure. So sit tight and enjoy the video. The anime continues with Tensai meeting Yugo. Her mood suddenly changes to that of a nervous tone, and she asks Yugo if he could hold her since she's scared of the danger. Yugo obliges, and she hugs him, before pulling a gun to his neck. She demands to know who he really is, since he is several inches taller than Yugo. With his cover blown, the man reveals his facade and takes off a mask, revealing it is Shu. Which Tensai immediately recognizes him as the fake police officer that Yugo called, and he reveals he works for Matsuri. Tensai then declares she will detain him, and chases Shu around with her gun. Meanwhile, Yugo is seen watching from afar with Yukihime. A flashback reveals, Yugo had teamed up with Yukihime to steal back the wizard's cane from Ishin. In exchange, Yugo hands Yukihime the light-up lie detector jewel. As they went to confront Ishin, they learned that Ishin intended to use the cane to control Ikkoku, and become the most powerful man on the island. Both groups begin to clash, and Yugo is badly injured after taking damage from Ishin's spells from the cane, until the cane's power suddenly deactivates. Yugo reveals that the cane's power is limited, and tells Ishin that he didn't think of the flaws, as he only assumed it was the most powerful artifact in Nanana's collection. Stunned, Ishin was about to be punched by Yugo, but was saved by his other assistant, Kagetora. Just as they think they are getting away, Tensai surrounded them with an army, revealing she is operating as Ikkoku's messenger, and took the cane from Ishin. Deflated, Ishin meets with Yugo, and apologizes for what he has done. As Yugo leaves, he warns Ishin not to betray them again. Returning to his home, an exasperated Yugo is met by Tensai. She then reveals her knowledge on his supposed kidnapping being staged, and discovered that he was actually working with the Phantom Thief gang Matsuri. Yugo is shocked Tensai knew this, even more so that she discovered that he is actually the heir of the organization. This revelation left him in awe at her knowledge, as he asks if she will turn him into the authorities. However, she states that his connections are worthy for him to be her rival, something that surprises him. Tensai makes a list of requirements to the part, and says she'll be seeing him. Yugo is then contacted by his father, who he is hostile to while the latter isn't amused by his attitude. Yugo's father asks him about his activities on the island and if he has a special someone, to which Yugo speaks about Tensai and admits to his father that he respects her abilities, while internally he mentions how annoying she is to him. After his father talks, Yugo soon hangs up and bemoans his recent time with his club. Returning to his room, he reveals that he gave a fake jewel to Yukihime. Nanana seems okay with it as she entrusts him in finding the killer for her. That night, Ishin treats the adventure club to dinner, using the funds raised from the forced sale of the wizard's cane. He suggests that they all take an overnight trip to a nearby hot springs, rumored to have a ruins with Nanana treasure. After returned home, Yugo attempts to get another hint from Nanana, but she refuses as it would take away from the fun of the hunt. Soon, Yukihime contacts Yugo and they meet at a nearby cafe, where she attempts to convince Yugo to return to Matsuri, but he refuses and Yukihime severs contact with him and even take his monthly allowance his father gave him. Back at his apartment, Yugo discovers Tensai, Dark, and Shiki are gaming with Nanana. Shiki also hands Yugo the utilities bill which boasts an absurd electricity cost due to Nanana's 24/7 gaming habit, and informs him that utilities must be paid or he will be evicted. With no choice, Yugo makes it to the school meeting room, where he is led in by the room leader Sonata Hajiki. Hajiki shows Yugo the job board and tells him to take his pick. While Yugo looks through several and believes he's found an easy job, he hears a familiar voice muttering. He turns around to see a Tensai with black pigtails. When he questions her on the disguise, she teasingly asks him on really liking her look, as he states he didn't think much on it and she is amused. To which, Hajiki immediately tells them to hold off on their lover's quarrel, making the two blush. Moving past the awkward moment, Yugo questions her reasoning for being here, and she states that she is not interested in money but here to find some interesting cases. After that, Yugo accepts a lucrative delivery job to the Tsukuyami district, where he meets Shu, who helps guide him through the shady area to the drop-off point. There, Yugo meets Tetsu, and he takes him to a room, where he meets Yun. After toying with Yun and checking out the room, the head of the Three Skulls organization, Sister, comes out and greets him. Seeing Yugo is noticeably frightened, sister prank him by threatens to kill him. While they are having a conversation, a raid on the base breaks out, and sister directs Tetsu to escort Yugo out. In the chaos, Yugo realizes he was never paid for the delivery, and must resort to selling Nanana's games to pay the utilities bill. Next morning, the Adventure Club arrives at the Hot Springs town, and Yugo resolves to locate the town's specialty pudding, in order to apologize to Nanana for selling her games. At the Hot Springs, Yugo is introduced to Kagetora, who apologizes for the previous attack on him. Much to his surprise, Yugo sees Yukihime at the hotel, but she ignores him. When everyone is shown their rooms, Yugo requests a separate room with Isshin, claiming to being a loud snorer. At dinner, Isshin goes over the floor layout of the abandoned house containing the ruins, as Kagetora has already confirmed the special key unlocks the door. With just the floor plans, Tensai is able to locate the room of the ruins, and the club commits to meeting in the hotel lobby at 10 a.m. The next morning, Yugo meets up with Tensai and Dark, when they find out from an employee that Isshin has already left for the house and gotten a head start on the trial. The room is revealed to be an agility puzzle, with trapped stepping stones and a water trap below. Tensai is suspicious of how quickly Yugo tackles the room, considering Kagetora is still having trouble despite his head start. After a few moments, Yugo clears the room and reaches the chest, and reveals the item inside is a stuffed cat. After that, the club members go to the hot springs to relax from the day's work, but then discover that the security locker the cat was stored in is now empty. They question the employees and other guests of the hotel, but come to a standstill with Yugo defending Yukihime, until Tensai provides evidence that Shu had disguised himself as a maid in order to pilfer the item away in the laundry. On the train back, Tensai confronts Yugo, believing he teamed up with the Matsuri duo to take the Nanana's collection item and leaked the ruins location for money to pay for the utilities. However, back in room 202, Nanana reveals that the stuffed cat is not part of her collection, and ends up locking Yugo out of the room as punishment for selling the games. With the specialty pudding Yugo mailed to the apartment finally arrived, he tries to make amends with Nanana, to which she reluctantly forgives Yugo, after he promises to buy her more games. Also hidden in the pudding box was the actual Nanana's collection treasure from the Hot Springs ruins, an ornate golden stake. It is revealed that, because Yukihime was also at the hot springs and may have overheard the Adventure Club's dinner plans, Yugo decided to go to the ruins in the night to secure the treasure first and replacing it with the stuffed cat toy as a decoy. Just then, Tensai and Dark appear in the doorway. Despite overhearing the confession, Tensai assures Yugo that she won't expose him. After all, stealing, lying, anything to get an advantage should be fair game in seeking Nanana's collection. Later, Nanana counsels Yugo, who is still struggling with knowing that despite the unwritten rules of the underground, Yukihime still tried to steal the collection item from Yugo. Seeing Yugo cry over Yukihime's betrayal, Nanana comforts him and encourages him to try and change the situation before becoming depressed. Emboldened, Yugo goes to meet Yukihime and sets a wager with her. If Yukihime wins, Yugo will hand over the hot springs treasure, but if Yugo wins, Yukihime will apologize for stealing. At the start of the duel, Yukihime thoroughly wallops Yugo, but he pulls out the collection treasure, and binds Yukihime in unbreakable chains. Immobilized, she finally breaks down and verbally lashes out against Yugo's selfishness, and for betraying her by leaving Matsuri. Yugo then releases the chains, and chastises her for not being clear about her wishes, and for betraying him in turn. In the end, Yugo and Yukihime are able to reconcile and come to an understanding. At the base of the tower, Yukihime meets up with Shu, who questions if they should be working with Yugo. Which, Yukihime tasks Shu with locating Sanada Fumika, an informant and member of the original Adventure Club. Back at his room, Yugo questions if he wants to help Nanana to pass on and leave room 202. Thanks for watching the video. Still want to watch more anime recap? Click the videos on the screen to watch more. And don't forget to subscribe to catch the latest upload. Bye!